Hello and welcome to the Spit Shit Podcast. In today's podcast, we have got two very beautiful guests, two very good mates of mine. We've got Jesse, who we've seen before on the podcast.
Hello.
Welcome. And we've also got Luke Saunders for the very first time on the podcast.
Very happy to be here.
Very happy to have both of you here as well. We've got an interesting episode today with the boys. So essentially in today's episode, we are going to be talking to Luke mainly because Jesse's kind of a little peasant. He's just kind of here on the side. Well, Luke's recently directed a movie. Going to get a little bit of an insight into that. As well as that, as every episode as well, we also have a hot sauce ready to try. Yes. Today's hot sauce is smoking mango chili hot sauce. Australian as well.
Shout out.
From Byron Bay. Shout out Australia. How about we get straight into it? And the first topic I have to talk about is actually from your birthday party, right? When we went on the boys and
okay, I was a bit worried that was gone for a second there. We are rolling now. We are live.
It was a first time for me, first time experience for me. Me and Luke were just chilling, having some drinks, and this girl comes up to Luke. She goes, "Are you Luke Saunders?"
Oh, here we go. Oh, no, this is.
I feel like I've just been king hit. Here we go. Let's get into it.
I'm like, how does the chick know who Luke Saunders is? Because
time to have a V.
For those of you who don't know, Luke Saunders used to make Facebook/YouTube videos back in the day.
I did.
I personally never watched them myself.
Thank God.
He's tried as much as he could to get rid of that shave the head.
Well,
and he goes out now, he's got the hat on, the sunnies on.
Yeah.
Zac Efron wasn't getting any attention at Crybaby.
Oh,
Luke Saunders
was.
Bance,
big name in Adelaide. Okay.
God, this is a stitcher.
I feel like this is the perfect thing to talk about firstly.
This is good.
You know there's a fan in our group as well. Unless you knew about Luke Bance. She goes to me, is that Luke Saunders? I used to watch his videos. So it's a common thing. Anyway,
that's the first time it's happened to me. And
it happened to you as well?
No. I experienced this. It's the first time I've experienced something like this.
Yeah.
And I was like, oof, I'm in the presence of a famous person. Oof. I started blushing a little bit and everything. Because I never watched your videos. What were the videos actually about? What did you do on them? I'm curious.
So my name was Luke Rants. And I ranted, essentially. I was a 14-year-old fat-looking, long-haired, lesbian-looking, very angry boy. And I did... My first video ever was impersonating this video of these two girls who were just, like, ranting at some girl from school that they knew, and it went viral. Yeah. And I just roasted them. And then I did, like, a Tumblr one. That was my second one. That just blew up. And then I did Annoying 12-Year-Olds, which I think was my most viewed... I was 14, complaining about 12-years.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So that's just, you get an idea of what the sort of content was.
So A-grade quality content.
I was at the forefront of YouTube, really. I mean, paving the way for today's audience. I was doing reaction videos in 2012, bro. Wow. Reaction videos. Did a couple lip syncs. before Musical.ly or TikTok. I mean, I had it all. It was your one-stop shop.
Did you jump
Too bad they all sucked.
I mean, we say that, but I did actually go and watch one of the videos because after that night I was really intrigued as to what videos, and the one that came up was the Tumblr one.
Yeah,
on YouTube, and it had something like 20,000 views, I think.
Maybe try 60.
60? Oh. Wow.
Thank you. If we're going to talk about it, let's talk about it right.
Oh my God. I think I have to pay you to be in my presence right now.
Well,
you didn't tell me he wasn't.
Oh shit.
You know, he was getting paychecks from YouTube though.
Were you really?
Yeah, it was. I mean, aside from the content that I made, the story itself is pretty crazy. So after a month, I had this YouTube channel that I was a big fan of. Now from Adelaide, and you can't write this stuff, but they were a group of magicians.
Okay.
Who made magician tutorials.
Yeah.
And so magic used to be my thing before videos. So magic, when I was year 6, like, catch me at a restaurant. Like I was about to break into the scene, but it just like the film industry, the industry just sort of destroyed me, and I didn't want to get into it, you know. But this YouTube channel with these magicians, they were like, yeah, we're from Adelaide too. Kind of weird now if you think about
What's
it.
going on over there?
What are you
Sorry,
doing,
there's a
bro?
spider. I just had to sort the situation out.
No, you should let it bite you. Then you could have become like Spider-Man.
Shout out.
That's how. That's
sponsors for this video.
sponsors PlayStation 5. Thanks for the sponsor.
Big
Spider-Man.
jump in sponsorships.
Oh, I
from
know,
last
right?
episode. Yeah, and so they just basically said, we have the head of YouTube Australia's email. Would you like us to send you? Would you like us to send them your videos? And I was like, 14. I'm like, yeah. Yeah, shit, yeah. And not kidding, bro. Like, this is how different it was back then. But I think 2 days later or so, I got an email directly, like an actual email from YouTube.
Yeah.
And they were like, we've sussed your videos. Would you like to be a partner? And
Really?
Yeah, and that was it. And then, 6 months later, I'd be in class in year 10. Like maths in the morning, just checking my Google AdSense, and some nights I made like $300 overnight.
Really?
And I spent it all at Macca's after school. But yeah, so that's basically the story, and it just sort of came out of nowhere,
Yeah, right. Okay.
and I just had to keep going.
If
Really.
it was going well, why'd you end up ending
Stopping.
that sort of?
Yeah.
It was a lot of complaining.
Yeah.
If you really get down to it, like all my videos were ranting about things, and they were just also like, I just wasn't into it as much. I liked the editing and the shooting and that sort of thing, but the actual like ranting, I didn't really care for. I just like being goofy, I guess. But
Yeah.
I think then year 11 or so came around, and I was like, I think I should probably just focus on acting and
yeah, that's right.
and that sort of stuff. And I mean, it was a pretty rough time at school, to be honest. It was pretty rough. A lot of the lads didn't appreciate it.
Okay.
Another new funny fat kid on the block. But yeah, just more for me to overcome. And I don't think I'd be the here's a segue for you.
Okay.
I don't think I'd be the filmmaker that I am today.
Funny enough,
How's that?
the next topic is about the film that you recently directed. Are we allowed to say the name? Yeah.
Dummy Half.
Dummy Half. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to make this movie? Because I'm curious, because I don't think I've actually personally asked you. Obviously, I know how passionate you are about film. I've never asked what inspired you to make a movie about what it's about, essentially.
It's a good question. It was about a year ago or so, which is crazy to think. But essentially, I was just trying to study the Australian cinema from the 70s chronologically through the 80s and stuff, and I started with the first movie of the Australian New Wave, Wake and Fright, and it just hit me. I didn't know what it was that I wanted to do with what they were getting at, but I knew that there was something for me to get at. And so it sort of turned into this idea of, I wanted to do like Wake and Fright, a movie in the bush, something that really portrayed Australia, as it is. Almost to a symbolic level, like cowboys in the Wild West for America. I thought bushrangers in the bush is our equivalent.
Yeah, okay.
And so then that started mutating in my head, and eventually I came up with the idea that in my head the modern equivalent, I guess, of these like gangs and bushrangers would be sports clubs, rural sports clubs. They have their mascots, their traditions, their colours, their history, their folklores. And that was it. Once I had that realisation, my father was a rugby player. You all know Sleazy now.
Oh, mate, Sleazy.
Oh,
What a
mate,
man.
shout out Sleazy.
Shout out Sleazy, man. What a man.
What a man. And yeah, so I ended up sort of basically trying to adapt his stories that I grew up listening to, which in my head were always kind of like listening to, stories about Ned Kelly or something, this outlaw who used to live in a time when not only sport was different in terms of how people could do what they did or get away with what they did, but society as a whole. And so I thought that this was I'd found somehow accidentally the perfect way to sort of try and talk about Australia through something so specific. And so I ended up adapting my dad's stories while putting a twist on them to have, some sort of connotation of toxic masculinity and that sort of thing. Then I put myself in it, So it just kept evolving. It never really was like a set thing, but I think the more organic those sort of changes are, the more momentum that you gather along the way, those are the best decisions. And I ended up casting my dad as Sleazy, and I ended up casting myself as his protege. And so it's basically a short film about facing legacy and trying to be who you are without taking too much influence from those around you, but also trying to rely on those around you to bring you up. So it's sort of like that tricky masculinity topic, but it's also kind of fun as well. It's not just an essay. We got some beautiful boys in there that were helping out and everything, and I couldn't have done it without these two guys. And
gorgeous men we are.
That's it. And no, you guys made my dream come true, so I really appreciate it. And yeah, I think it's going to look awesome. We shot it on 16mm film. We shot 1,600 feet, so I got to send that off. It is a short film, I will just preface. But yeah, that's dummy half, baby.
Still a dream come true. You
know?
I find it interesting hearing you explain it, because when I talk about it, when people ask me, I kind of almost introduced it as like a sort of an exploration between your relationship between you and your father, in a way, like how it evolved into that sort of very personal narrative. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see how that comes across in the film as well, the chemistry between you two, and it was quite challenging at times as well. Don't know if you want to share any of the stories, but it wasn't all smooth sailing.
Please do.
Oh yeah, look, Sleazy was sleazy, really. Like, so my father had never acted before.
Yes.
Had never seen art before, and so yeah, I mean, Jesse is right too. There is a huge part of this that was just sort of, I wanted to try and understand what he understood the most in life, which was rugby, and I hoped that by making that a part of what I do in life, film, that we could then sort of build a new bridge together. And it's worked. I also know more about rugby than him now, which is great, which is so good. His tips sucked all year. He owes me a carton. Sleazy, you owe me a carton.
Sleazy, if you're watching,
get on it. And yeah, so when he was on set, it was a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, but all those moments sort of count. Like the fact that he was still there was still, it never pushed me to beyond a breaking point or anything like that. If I was just directing it and maybe not acting in it with him, then maybe I feel that it would have been different, because through the actual scenes there was almost a cathartic release, for all the tension that we were having when we were rehearsing or leading up to it. Once we got that scene together, we're looking at each other, it's just me and him, then it was done. Whereas if maybe I was just directing and just watching him from afar and sort of feeling a bit removed, maybe it wouldn't have gone as smoothly. But yeah, as soon as like I remember, here's a quick story, but like first day we rock up and we've got a few hours until the first scene, and it's dad's got the first scene, so very stressful, and he's got a crew around him, and we're at Elizabeth Rugby Club. He had to drive all the way out, and so I go, all right, let's go rehearse out the back, is that cool? And he's like, yeah, okay.
Classic dad.
Classic. And so we go out, and it was hilarious. We're on this like dirt path behind a rugby club next to a main road in Elizabeth, and Dad is just a bit nervous. So we're rehearsing, and I'm waiting for one of the other actors to rock up. Shout out Michael, and
He's
my twin.
That's it. Yeah, exactly, brothers.
Yeah.
And he rocked up, and that was about after an hour of rehearsals, and Dad was getting a bit, just like every time I'd say, let's do it again, he'd be like, oh, okay. But as soon as, another bloke rocked up, and I knew this would be the case, suddenly Sleazy starts puffing his chest out a bit. He starts becoming a bit of a stand-up comedian, and he was having a good time. And it was just little things like that where he would just have these different switches in attitude when different things were happening. It was just hilarious to watch.
By the end of the film, he was introducing himself as Sleazy again. He'd become the character, he'd become the man he was.
Exactly. There was a moment on night 2 when we were at Onkers when I was in a change room at this rugby club, and I was putting my boots on or something, and it was like I was, about to go out.
Yeah.
And in the hallway behind me, I can hear Dad, and he's introducing himself to some other rugby dad who was from Onkers that was here to help out. And he just goes straight away, "Yeah, mate, my name's Sleazy. What's your name?" Blah, blah, blah. And this guy like replies, and then he just goes straight into his like CV. He's like, "Yeah, mate, I'm Sleazy. 10 years at New South Wales, 5 years Touch Australia, 2." And I was listening to it, and it got me into character listening, because I was like, "Fuck this guy," But no, it was good, and I think it was. I hope it's going to be one of those things that elevates the film, because at this point now of he wasn't on board for the full year, but probably 3 months or so since he joined, and so I'm just very used to it, and I've seen it a lot, and I just need to have a removed perspective. But once the footage comes back, I hope it does elevate it. Just our connection.
Of course. One question I want to ask as well is, how did you find being the lead actor and directing at the same time as well? Because I know for a fact, me personally, I wouldn't be able to do that. I don't like being in front of the camera as it is. That's why I want to be behind it. How did you find it?
Yeah, it was. That's something I haven't really even reflected on, but recently I have thought about it, and it was a lot. Yeah, it really was a lot. Although I think that for this specific film, I think I couldn't have done it any other way. In a way, it really let me as the director stay in the zone with the actors and everything like that. The reason I even did the performance myself was it was a late decision because pure budget reasons, and then it started getting to a point as I was writing where I really wanted this character, the boy, to go through a bit of a beating, like just a bit of a beating, and have his head shaved. And I knew that looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, quite reluctant at first with that.
I was a bit nervous. I was a bit nervous. Now I'm loving it. Now I'm trimming it every few days, like. But yeah, no, honestly, the reason I guess was those sorts of things. So I never really I didn't want to stop and worry about the performance. I did get nervous and stuff like that, but because it was tied in with the directing job too, it was good in a way, because in all the times that I would be between scenes, just rehearsing with another actor perhaps, I would probably have more time to worry and get in my head about the performance. But not only did I get to keep rehearsing with the others as the director, but as the character too. I never sort of had that moment where I fully was removed and had the time to worry. I was just my director's brain was thinking about what was coming on a schedule wise, and my actor's brain was just worrying on doing what we're doing right now. And it almost maybe worked perfectly. But that being said, I don't think that could just immediately apply itself to the next film I made. It was just a very specific scenario, and I did enjoy it.
You did?
I did enjoy it. I did want to be an actor before film school.
I was going to ask you that as well, because we have had a chat about this before, about what realistically got you into film as well. And one of the first things you said was, I actually wanted to be an actor at first. So where did that all stem from?
Magicians. It's a full circle.
Yeah, 100%. That is genuinely what I answer when people ask me that now, because shout out, like Orson Welles, Citizen Kane, that director. We've heard of him.
Rosebud.
He was a magician first. A lot of directors, it turns out, there are a few that have these magician beginnings, and I like to think that I'm in a very small niche. Or you could just call them losers. I don't know. So I think genuinely, bear with me here, it was the magic, because I started that at an age when I was just not a confident kid. And suddenly I had something to be confident about, and it was something that I could practice just all night, all day, in my hands, just constantly. And so it not only taught me the ethic of the craft and just sort of don't worry, just figure it out. Just keep practicing. You can, and even like watching a movie is like watching a trick in a way, because you're watching it with your heart and you're feeling, but then you're also, how can I replicate that? And so that combined with the actual performing of the magic, where I suddenly had these tricks, but I thought the tricks just alone were boring. They needed, a performance. And so that's where I actually sort of learnt to improv and like riff a bit. And I would sort of just, try and almost like a comedy show and just try and riff with my cards with my family members. And it helped me to fail as well. Like I remember I went to a Seacliff Yacht Club one night for a family event, and I brought the cards. And I maybe I'd had like 6 lemonades, and I was feeling pretty good.
Just lemonades?
Yeah, just lemonades.
Oh,
on that sugar rush. And I thought, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to perform to like 6 tables. And I got every single trick wrong in front of a table of at least 20 people. And it was just the best experience ever, because it was like, at least I know that it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that is where it all started. Obviously then just through drama and stuff like that. I had a really good mate, Lucas, who we just had the best sort of comedic chemistry. And I think we just supported each other so well, and through all of high school we were just acting. And it wasn't until literally the day of, or a few weeks before, about to apply for acting school at Flinders, my dad was like, Sleazy was like, he was like, oh, we've got a family friend who teaches film at Flinders. Maybe we should talk to him, just ask him a few questions before we try out the acting. And so I said, yeah, of course. And I had one meeting with him for 1 hour, and I walked out of there realizing that it was film that I really wanted to do. I don't think I got it even in that moment, because that was a pretty crazy hour long discussion, and I was bluffing my way through a lot of the talk and that. But he ended up becoming my mentor through honours, full circle. But he really just spoke to me like an adult, and he said, I don't think you want to act, I think you want to write for the actors. You can act your own writing if you want, but I think you want to do that. And I took his word for it, and I haven't looked back a moment since. That was about 6 years ago.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's so crazy, so different to kind of how myself personally, how I wanted to start making films. I've always loved film, always have. And my favourite movie of all time, Whiplash, right? Very first time I ever watched that movie, I just felt something different watching it, and I thought to myself, I was like, I want to make someone feel how I felt in this moment. Just so encapsulated just by everything that was going on in the whole movie. The whole time I was on edge. That's what I wanted as well, because realistically my favorite genre is horror, as I'm sure both of you are aware. It kind of felt,
I love getting a bit of a scare.
I love it. And you know what, it was crazy, because I was kind of more terrified watching Whiplash than I was watching any other horror movie, just because it was so realistic, the horrors in it. And that's how I want to make someone feel, just like realistic horrors and whatnot. And that, I don't know, that was my step into wanting to become a director as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome that it's a specific movie as well.
Yeah,
that you know and you can look back on.
And I've literally, ever since that day, I watched it for the first time at 11 o'clock in my bedroom on my laptop. Never looked back since that day as well.
Awesome.
It's so crazy.
Was this year 12 for you? When was this?
Year 11, I think it was. Year 11 or 12. Yeah, roughly around there. So not quite as long as yourself, but,
doesn't matter.
It always starts from somewhere at the end of the day, Now, completely, not really on a different subject, still kind of on the same kind of route. Last time Jesse was on, we spoke about Tenet, right? And last time I was having a chat with you, you were talking about your obsession with, was it physics?
Quantum
mechanics, that's it. Do you want to shoot us what's your obsession with this? Because we were chatting for a solid, I think it was like 3 hours at Rocket Bar about quantum mechanics. Yeah.
Oh, shout out to the espresso martinis for
fueling
that. Yeah. I mean, disclaimer, I'm not a scientist. I've never taken a science class in my life. But it was because of Tenet. It was genuinely because of Tenet. I saw Tenet, thought, what the fuck was that? but I knew that there was something in my head that I had an idea of what it was trying to get at, but I just didn't know. I didn't have the language. And my sort of prayers were answered when I one night was like, oh, maybe it's something to do with physics. So I just Googled, top 17 little facts everyone should know. Everyone should know about physics.
Was it a Watch Mojo video?
No.
Oh, God.
Top 10 physics facts today on Watch Mojo. Honorable mentions.
Shout out. New sponsor, Watch Mojo.
Watch Mojo, if you want to sponsor us, go for it, man.
And yeah, I sort of stumbled on entropy and all these sorts of factors that, to me, I then realised that's what Tenet was about. But then I just kept staying in this wormhole of quantum mechanics and that sort of thing, because I started realising that I'd had a lot of theories about the world through experience on certain things, and those were now being sort of aligned with what I was learning. And so I've become obsessed with physics and that, but not from a scholarly level as much, but from a pure storytelling aspect, because if physics is something that is meant to embody life and it shows us the patterns of life and the structures of life, then I feel that it should be able to illuminate the structures of a good story or the structures of a good situation. And I've started trying out applying these sciences in a way to my screenwriting. Like I came up with there's this cellular automata is this thing I was reading about. Yeah, I was panicking for a second. Like, do I remember it right, or is that like a truck company? Like,
It's too many letters for me.
But it's basically this idea that when creating simulation, you can put in 3 very basic rules, and from those 3 basic rules, the program will take over and create new rules and new patterns. And so I decided to try that out by adapting it to a film mechanic, and so cellular screenwriting, I guess you could call it, where I just basically started writing 3 rules for a movie, just 3 rules. This is all start there, and then I went within each rule and wrote 3 rules about that rule, and then I kept going, and you just have these wider tunnels that are branching off with all this information that makes sense because it's progressing from one step to the next. Whereas in the past, maybe I've been trying to encapsulate things all over the place when I'm writing, and so that sort of tornado of ideas is just too much. But yeah, I think it's just, I don't know, I think that was a lot of espresso martinis that night. I'm not that smart about it, but it's just something that it is genuinely a huge passion for me to just sort of, I guess, find answers.
Yeah, I think that's the Nolan effect, because no joke, watching Interstellar after that, I was looking up quantum mechanics and quantum physics and looking into entropy and wormholes, and it must be something about Nolan movies. He's got his head around physics and probably dabbles in a few other extracurriculars.
Yeah.
He's definitely an interesting approach. But whatever you think of him, for just this is a bit off topic, but Elon Musk talks a lot about principles first approach, and like a lot of our learning is by adaptation, or we learn through previous examples of things, whereas when you take the principles first approach, it's more of a, like you've said, you just define 3 things, and instead of taking the learning from somewhere else, you're setting the standards right there and then, and you're following wherever that path leads. I can't explain it very well either.
No, I get what you mean.
I've got no idea what I'm talking about, but I just think that's very interesting. A lot of our understanding is from what we already know. We compare something to something else, whereas I find a lot of physics is from the ground up and actually making the path rather than following it, getting that momentum rolling.
Well, from my rabbit hole of physics, from my bachelor degree in quantum mechanics, I have actually noticed though that it seems like the physics community does have the same sort of problems as the film industry. To again marry those, make another team, bring it back. But it does seem like a lot of the science nowadays is almost like Hollywood in a way that it's very reductionist, and they're like everything is just atoms, because we know that, and cool, happy with that. But when you tell people that is all there is to it, I guess you are shutting out different people's ideas to build from the ground up, and a lot of stuff that is now actually being confirmed, like a lot of these quantum fields and all these sorts of different. I mean, I'm seeing an article every day now about different theories of pre-Big Bang theory and all these sorts of how now they're saying it's not an explosion, but it was
big bounce.
it's
I like
retracting and coming back and retracting and coming back.
Right. Okay.
And the people, well, right?
Yeah.
But I like that there are people that do want to explore these ideas, even if they're wrong, because it doesn't matter if they're wrong in the end, because what have you lost?
Yep.
It's what have you gained if they're right. And
that goes back to the idea of failure, even with the magic tricks. It's the same
Yes.
thing.
Exactly.
shout out David Copperfield. But yeah, I don't know. Long tangent there.
Yeah. Did a full 360 there.
Yeah. Maths.
Now this is going to be literally completely off topic.
Yeah.
So last episode, you're a bit
It's
hot.
pretty hot in here.
Oh mate, wait till you have the bloody mango
Wait,
chili.
we got. It's sitting there
physics
waiting.
Feels like Rimbomba.
Yeah. So completely off topic. So last episode, I asked the audience for some questions. The full 25 people that watch every single week.
Shout out.
And I saved this one because I don't know why. I feel like it would be a good topic. I feel like you two are good people to ask it, really.
Okay.
I
Get
guess.
a bit worried.
Yeah.
I didn't even know if you would be able to answer it too well, but I'm just curious on what you're
the
thinking.
build up.
The question was, can friends with benefits work?
Jesse, I'll take this. Yes, they can.
They definitely can. Because I'm curious. I'm curious to know because I've never had this. I had an opportunity, I guess you can say. Didn't take it. But me personally, I don't think it can work. Just because if you're friends with one another, then eventually you're just going to catch feels for each other.
Yeah.
If you're going to have a friends with benefits situation, it's just going to be person with benefits, in my opinion. In my opinion, you've got to hate the person, but just think they're attractive to want to fuck them constantly.
That got real dark real quick.
I mean, I don't know what you mean. This isn't off topic. This feels like another physics discussion. This is a scholarly debate.
Biology.
Yeah, change science.
It is an important question, though.
Yeah.
Jesse, what do you think?
I don't know. I just think it works till it doesn't. It's like the gold standard, you know. It's a great theory, but in practice, I think eventually someone's going to catch feels, or someone's going to start seeing someone else, and it's like, what'd you do there? Like, I think it's a good thing, but a rare thing when it actually like
pays off.
Because eventually, if you're not going to see each other forever. It's eventually someone's going to move off, or something's going to happen, and I don't know. It's pretty rare when the friendships are still able to stay intact. Like I know friendship groups, when it gets to be incestual, it's a bit I don't know, it's
a bit of chaos.
Yeah, there's always a bit of history there. Whereas like we're pretty lucky with our group, hasn't got too incestual. So
which is good.
Yeah, I think that's actually it's the harder thing to do, but I think sometimes it's the right thing to do. And yeah, I agree. I think if it's going to be a friends with benefits, it's almost got to be like a acquaintance with benefits. Like you don't want to be too cozy, you don't want to be seeing each other a lot. It's probably better if it's a casual thing outside of a friendship group, if that's what you're going to go for.
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that.
But passing the mic over.
Yeah, what's
Luke
your
rants,
opinion?
what's the rant?
Luke rants. What's your rant? Oh,
This is I ain't never seen two pretty best friends. I don't think it can work. I don't think it can work. I think, what did you say? It works till it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's a good way to put it. I think it's got an expiration date, but if that's a part of the contract, you know, if it's not in the fine print, but it's up front and addressed, you know, maybe. But from my experience, no. Yeah, I do like the idea of, how did you put it? Have someone you hate that you can fuck.
They can just fuck. Yeah,
It's not as catchy as Friends with Benefits,
you know.
but I think you're onto something there. Because you it's inevitable. Like you're either catching the feels, or they're catching the feels, or you think you're catching the feels, but you're actually maybe just becoming possessive, or there's all these other little factors that could happen, because it's not common. And then when you add a friendship dynamic with sex, I think it's just a can of worms.
I get the idea.
Unless you want to date. Unless in that progression, Then
You
I think
usually both agree that you want to date.
yeah,
You know.
then of course, but I guess yeah, I don't know because you don't know until you know.
I get the idea of it though. The allure is that, getting in my feels here, but the emotional connection and the comfort you have with someone who's a friend is probably going to be a more positive experience than someone you don't know if you're having sexual relations with that person. So that was my Bill Clinton impression. I didn't have sexual relations.
Oh my god.
I think I said Bill Cosby.
I did not put the pills in the girls. They put the pills in themselves. Anyway, that's I'm never invited again. I'm getting cancelled now.
Keeping my vegan.
Yes, well. Whoa, okay.
Continue.
I forgot what I was saying. What was I saying?
The fields.
You're chatting shit. Spitting shit.
Yeah, no. What I was saying was
Wait.
bit slow on the uptake there. The idea of it is like the fact that there's the comfort and the emotional connection. So I kind of get that. But at the end of the day, like, why don't you just try to take it a step further then? Our generation very scared of commitment.
Well, I mean,
yes,
the one thing that you just made me think of though, which is I guess why for me it's never worked, is I guess maybe I'm crazy. Right? let me put a disclaimer out there. Maybe I'm crazy.
You are going through the Britney Spears
phase. But for me, mate, call me a traditionalist. But who I want to date, I'm friends with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so stop.
Wow.
But keep going.
But
the the idea of like friends with benefits almost implies that there is a standard that has been set by, I guess, our generation or the generation before, that it's not normal to be friends with who you're dating in a way, because why wouldn't you then just be friends with benefits with your partner? Other than the fear of commitment, which is like, okay, fair enough, I guess.
I have a big worry about the fact that these days with Tinder and that sort of thing, you can see someone for 2 or 3 weeks and then they get bored because, what's the point if something exciting is going to come along? And everyone likes that instant gratification. There's a lot of other, obviously, you could go into talking for days about social media and all the other things that cause this desire for instant gratification. I think it's come across in the dating world as well. People are a bit scared to tie down to one thing because what if there's something better on offer?
It's almost like I blame the capitalist system. It's also the notion of, like what you're saying, the better thing to come along. It's almost like I think everyone almost views everyone nowadays as like a product, and we know that every year Apple will come out with the iPhone that follows the previous, and through at least a product standard, the new product is better than the last by its very invention. It would not be the new model without being better. So I think there's just this whole world that we're in now where everything around us besides people is being outdated, not just like replaced, but they're actually being outdated by their newest model. And in a way, I think that there is at least some maybe out there, maybe even me myself sometimes in the past, but you do almost start to maybe perhaps perceive, at least on Tinder as well, because it's on your phone, it's on technology. And I can understand how if things, you're 3 weeks into a relationship and they sneezed on your face and you didn't like it, and you're starting to think, fuck, I want the upgrade, I'll take out a plan, we'll make it work. But yeah, I feel like it's just where it is a bit scary because it is just so unavoidable because we're so. But it's good to have these conversations.
See, this is why I chose you two for this conversation.
What's been the general consensus in the past when you've asked that question?
As in, what, friends with benefits?
Have you asked many other guests on the show?
First time.
I thought you asked it last time.
No, I kept it.
Saved
I
it.
saved it.
Listen,
Jesse.
Yeah. I'm an avid follower. I've watched every episode.
No, I will. Can we just? I feel. Yeah, let's just block him out. Just us two talk now. No, I haven't asked it before, but I feel like
it's a good question to bring up, I reckon.
I feel daily. Not daily.
Daily.
every episode. daily question at work. So, what's your opinion on friends with benefits? I'm asking for a friend.
Do you want to be my friend?
Do you want to be my friend with benefits?
You'd get a good read on a person just from that answer.
Yeah.
Screw the Telstra surveys. Just...
Oh my god.
The friends with benefits bunny.
Oh, my ex. She's here.
Maybe the room's haunted. Fuck me.
That was spooky, bro.
Yeah.
The ghost, they don't like that friends with benefits.
Yeah,
They
well,
all
we
about
got
that
an answer
commitment.
from the ghost as well. They don't like it.
That was Morse code. Flick, flick, flick. He said, "Fuck yeah."
Yeah, that what God was saying. Come on, boys.
Maybe that's how he died, and he was trying to communicate with us. His friends with benefit killed him because he slept with someone else.
Movie script on the way. Let's start.
Let's
Right.
do it. Give me pen and paper. But I think it's about time, boys. Let's move on to the beautiful smoking mango chili hot sauce.
I'm so ready.
So ready? How do you do with spice?
I mean, I will say I'm pretty good. But everyone who says that, vomits 3 minutes later. So I shouldn't have said that.
I don't think this one is extremely hot because when I went and bought it, so it's like a 1 out of 10. So he has like 10 chilies, right?
Yeah.
On the board, and this one was a 5. So
Oh.
it's like in between. I don't know what the Scoville unit's for. I was in a bit of a rush coming home from work, picking it up.
Might have to lather it.
I think it'll be a nice little tropical flavour.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a nice.
It smells quite.
Ooh.
Oh, whiff
Sounds
Ooh.
like salsa.
doesn't smell vinegary.
Yeah.
Smells
No,
like
it smells like salsa.
With chipotle. Ooh.
With chipotle.
Yeah.
Oh my
Ooh.
god, chipotle.
Still got that bit of a
chili.
smoky, dangerous smell.
Now I think because it was only a 5 out of 10.
Do what you gotta do, brother.
Oh, jeez.
Fuck it, let's do
It
it.
was a 5 out of 10.
Let's do it.
I feel like that's perfection.
I'm here for business.
Right. So,
I'm here
You have
for
painted
business.
that Picasso.
abstract. Jesse, I feel like you should get this one.
Oh, jeez. Is that because there's letters in it? Thanks for fondling it even more before you.
Oh, that's brilliant. There you
What
go.
happened?
It dropped on the ground.
Going all over. Thanks for getting the plates out.
Don't touch your face with those fingies.
There you go.
This is just. Jeez, you've given me a real lathered up one here.
Yeah, you deserve that for not listening.
Bloody hell,
Alright.
this is actually swimming in it.
Are we just
You
gonna
ready?
do a full half,
Yeah.
half the thing in
Let's
one
go.
go?
You ready? 3,
Yeah,
2,
turn the other
1.
side. Mmm.
That's quite nice. It's not even that hot. I think
It's
you
like a bit
lied
of
to me.
tomato sauce.
Oh, that is nice. I like that
Yeah,
one.
it's really sweet.
It's nice.
I
Got a little
like that.
kick to it.
Yeah, it's got like a little kick to it, but
This is a hot sauce you have that's actually enjoyable, you know?
Mm.
The other ones are just competitions. This is
yeah,
just...
the last one that we had when Jesse was on, that was not a good time.
De bomb.
Mm.
I want to try that one. Where'd
I
you
got
get
it.
it? Can you go
Should I go get it?
Please.
This is
Alright.
the hot sauce you take
Yeah.
back to your parents. This is the one you introduced to your
Oh,
mum.
dude, I'm actually so keen.
Boys, keep the guests entertained.
Can I get a napkin?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, cheers.
I'll bring some plates too.
Thanks.
And we
How's the
rolling.
production quality on this show? No plates, no napkins. Ghost in the house.
So now that the host has left,
Thank God. No, I'm sorry, Stuffy. I love you.
I don't. No, I don't
Yeah.
do. I feel like we're the two old men from the Muppets now.
What's the Muppets?
Oh,
Just kidding.
we've ruined your whole production. We'll just throwing
Sorry,
some
mate.
shade.
We were just spitting shit,
I love it.
right?
Um,
Now, I've wanted to do this for years.
look, I didn't
For
find any
years.
napkins, but I've got the bomb hot
The
sauce.
bomb.
Thank you.
Shout out, Hot Ones.
Shout out Hot Ones.
I've literally for years wanted to try this. This is a dream come true.
How much do you want? How
you
much?
guys had what was like? You had you had one drop and then you had three.
And
Drops.
then we had 3 drops.
What was?
Go for 4. No, go for 2.
I'll go.
I
I'll
reckon.
have one first,
No, go for 2.
and then
I
I'll go for 4. I reckon.
Oh, alright.
If I can.
reckon. It's getting very hot in here.
Oh.
Is that 5?
I'll do it.
You do it?
Show the camera. Give me my
So-
cred. So that's probably 3.
That's probably about
Probably
3
3.
drops. That's probably about 3 there.
All right.
Before you do, best of luck, my man.
Thank you.
I'll shake your hand, but I got sauce all over it. Saucy.
We got bonus hot sauce this episode. Oh,
That concern in the sight.
ooh. I'm gonna enjoy my If you want some milk, let me know, man. I'll get you some. If
How's it going so far? Give us some live commentary of the journey so far. Are you Homer Simpson in the desert yet? Get that chewing right up in there, Mike.
Yeah, I want to hear that.
Oh, I got the hiccups.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how hot is it?
It's just uncomfortable, isn't it?
Yeah.
You want more? I gotta get rid of the hiccup.
Oh, that vein's coming out. That vein's about to pop out the head.
Do you want some chicken without hot sauce on it? What's this? This is how you get rid of hiccups.
Oh, usually. Oh,
Oh, wow. We've got some filthiness on this episode. I think we'll leave it at Luke suffering.
Can we end it on the another Family Guy
Yeah, hit us with a Family Guy
impression,
please.
Brian!
That's it. Alright, thank you for tuning in. Thank you to Luke and Jesse for coming on. Absolute pleasure as always, and we'll catch you next episode. See ya.